did a telescope experiment and proved that the Earth was stationary. Then we have
Parallax, also known as Rowbotham, who carried out an experiment in the late 1800s on the Bedford Levels experiment, where he went at a distance of 6 miles, which should have showed up some sort of curvature of around 16 foot. No curvature was seen at all.
Then we have Michelson, Morley and Sagnac in the early 1900s with their interferometers using light instead of telescopes this time. And with their interferometer experiments, they proved that the ether over the Earth, the field, is moving and the Earth is stationary. We also had Michelson Gale. They did an experiment in the 1930s and proved that the Earth is stationary.
One of the greatest science experiments of all time, in my opinion, is from Marconi. Marconi in 1901 set up transmitters to send radio waves, like signals, wireless signals across the ocean, Atlantic Ocean, okay? So he has one set up in Europe and one set up in Canada, okay? And they're sending signals, I think the letter S was the first one, boom, and it worked. Almost 2,000 miles across the ocean, they got the signal. There's no curvature. You're talking about 600 miles of curvature between the 2 points. But it worked because all water's level. I don't even know if he was trying to talk about that at the time. It was just more about his technology that he was coming out with. And have you learned about that in school? No.
Then we have Pierluigi Ghina, a colleague of Marconi. And before he died, he showed people in his laboratory how the Earth is stationary. You can go to my channel, Mr. Astrotheology, and you can see videos of Mr. Pierluigi Ghina proving in his laboratory with strobe lights how you can prove quite easily that the Earth is stationary.
Every scientific experiment throughout time looking for axial rotation or curvature has proven the opposite. They don't teach this in schools. Any observation, when you go outside on a calm morning, you can see a perfectly glass lake. And your senses will tell you that, nothing is moving.
We, stationary Earthers, we have science, real science, on our side, and the Globies have pseudoscience. In fact, all they have is Einstein saying, "I have come to believe that no optical experiment can prove that the Earth is moving." And yet, the Earth is moving.
Science!
Yeah, Albert Einstein. I always recommend people go watch Albert Einstein in his interviews. He's reading cue cards. He's reading notes that someone handed him, kind of like people on TV nowadays.
There is no optical experiment ever been conducted that can prove that the Earth is moving.
The Earth is spinning at 1,040 miles an hour. You can't feel it. You can't measure it. You can't observe it. You can't repeat it. But trust us, there's not one experiment that shows the Earth is spinning or moving whatsoever. There is, however, an experiment that was proven in Behind the Curve.
Bob Nodell was talking about the ring laser gyro, showing that there is a apparent 15 degrees drift throughout most of the day.
When we turned on that gyroscope, we found that we were picking up a drift, a 15 degree per hour drift.
And this was taken out of context. It was later, the experiment was done at a higher altitude and it showed a different rotation speed, which absolutely proves it's not the Earth that's moving, that it's the ether that is spinning above us.
Netflix is mainstream. Netflix is the alternative mainstream narrative. Netflix can't go against the grain. They'll lose their contract.
A documentary, like a mockumentary. I'm sure someone watched our movie and was like, whoever made this movie is a government shill, and
Sure.
they're just trying to hide it. Netflix is in on it, trying to hide it.
Yeah,
he accidentally proves that the Earth is round.
It was the biggest mic drop. It was the biggest mic drop. And I love that you kind of cut it.
The thing is, we have technology that is outrunning their lies. Now we have time lapse. Ooh, imagine that. We have time lapse where we can point at the sky, and year after year, day after day, hour after hour, the sky's spinning.
Every day there should be different stars, random stars, in the sky if we are travelling at 650 million miles an hour, which is Mach 870,000. Do you really believe that every year we move through space at 5.5 trillion miles every year? And yet every year the same stars keep turning over our Earth. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. Year after year after year, and yet none of those constellations distort, change shape, get brighter. There has never been, in recorded history, we have never seen any star get brighter or dimmer, or any shape of those constellations which are still recognizable today as they were thousands of years ago. They never suffer any parallax or distortion.
Polaris has never moved in all of recorded history. Point your camera up at Polaris and do a time lapse and watch God's perfect timepiece spin above you.
And we move 5,694,000,000 miles through space every year. Congratulations to you if you believe that. It's called education, indoctrination, and dumbing down.
If you look back in history, you got Universal, their company. They started off with a logo with a globe in it, but it wasn't until like the 1920s that they actually had the motion one where it was a spinning globe. And they actually had an airplane in the early ones, like leaving a chemtrail that said Universal, which is kind of funny. Nobody has been high enough to even see what it looked like. They were definitely trying to instill the image of a globe in people's heads, because obviously early on in the movie industry, they were one of the most popular companies to make movies, so people were going to the theater and seeing this globe.
So they're showing you a globe before every single movie to program your mind. They were showing this globe before they even went up there to see what it was. I think the first man ever to go up and check is Picard going up there. I mean, that's a story we're not taught in school.
From the practical point of view, Professor Picard's experiment is of the highest possible importance.
These timelines, these dates, these are facts.
We got Auguste Picard coming out in the 1930s in an actual publication by a science journal saying that the Earth looks like a flat disk with an upturned edge.
Besides Universal programming you, you had Walt Disney programming you with space documentaries for almost 15 years straight.
Some pretty crazy propaganda in the 1950s. There was one called Man in Space. He's talking about taking men to the moon in a rocket. And then if we cruise on, we got Richard E. Byrd. He goes on Longines chronoscope, and he's sitting down and he's telling people...
Strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being.
Shortly after Richard E. Byrd did that interview, they put the Antarctic Treaty in place, and then 1 year later, NASA is established.
Almost 0 hour at Cape Canaveral, and enlarged 16mm pictures show a monkey specially trained and conditioned for voyaging in space. 2 monkeys had been selected for the job. They called them Abel and Baker, A and B, of course. In fact, the monkeys came down safely near Antigua. Reported none the worse. after blazing the trail for human space travel.
They come in and they're the gatekeepers for your minds. Like, they're making sure that people think that they live on a spinning ball, and that's their sole purpose, that it has always been their sole purpose.
That is the magic of engineering. I would wear a mask on my face in a nanosecond, but unfortunately we lost the technology.
It can take days, even weeks, to produce just a single image. The dazzling final results, enough to keep us all dreaming.
NASA is hiding the frickin' flatness of the Earth. Why? It's okay to say, I have a fisheye lens, right? Because, yeah, fisheye lenses are useful. You know, you get more, in architecture or, realtors use them. But when you're doing it too much and you're not really coming out and saying why, questions build up.
In 1923, a fisheye lens was invented. So these space agencies had a heads up already. And the fisheye lens was originally, I think, $27,000 to purchase. And this is in 1923. I mean, today that's about, what, 100 grand, 200 grand equivalent in cost? And people would tell me, Hippler, I'll give you that. NASA is a lying government entity, right? But what about Red Bull? Red Bull's just an energy drink. And I saw Felix Baumgartner jump out of a space capsule. Flat Earthers did a great job of debunking that. Of course it's a fisheye lens, it's not even a question. What most people don't know is that Neil deGrasse Tyson, the science priest of modern day, that everybody loves and they listen to him. Oh, he's so smart. Oh, he is a smart man in the sense of he knows that we debunked the shit out of that.
And that dude who jumped out of a perfectly good balloon, Felix Baumgartner, edge of space jump. Now, I don't. It's he wants to. I don't have a problem if he does it, but the honesty of it would greatly diminish what I think people thought he was actually doing. And not only that, they made sure to photograph him standing there with a really wide-angle lens, which curves horizontal lines. So in the photo, you see this curvature of Earth's surface, and he said, wow, he's in space, look at that. No, he's not. At that height, you don't see the curvature of the Earth. You just don't. That stuff is flat.
So much pressure on Neil deGrasse Tyson to come clean. He had to. We exposed Felix Baumgartner. That's a complete fisheye lens. There's no curvature at all on this Earth, let alone they're trying to sell it as 23 miles up, there's curvature. Even though people will sit there and swear they saw curvature out of an airplane 10 miles high. Yeah, okay. So your priest Neil deGrasse Tyson admits 23 miles up, no curve. How do you feel about that? All right, maybe you say that's no big deal. Okay. Even though Felix Baumgartner himself said he could see the curvature of the earth.
It's almost overwhelming. When you're standing there in a pressure suit, the only thing that you hear is yourself breathing. You can see the curvature of the earth. You can see the sky is totally black. You can see the curvature of the earth. You can see the curvature of the earth. You can see the curvature of the earth.
That's 120,000 feet, 4 times higher than most passenger planes fly.
So that should make you go, right away, what's going on here? Who's lying, right? But you don't think there's an agenda here? You don't think people are lying here? Fast forwarding to recently, Richard Branson, his ugly ass, Mr. Billionaire himself.
Officially the first billionaire to travel to space, so Richard Branson.
So you go 63 miles up, you would all probably assume that, of course, you could see this giant curve of Earth. You're 63 miles up, holy shit. Richard Branson supposedly goes up 63 miles, even though it's nothing but fisheye lens footage. We exposed that. Here comes Neil deGrasse Tyson again, damage control time.
Oh, by the way, you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you. Do you know how high up above the Earth he was?
No.
So if you take a
63 miles.
Oh, yeah, say right. So take a schoolroom globe, and that's how high above it is he? So he's about 2 millimeters above the surface of a schoolroom globe. So nobody has seen the curvature of the Earth from that height. I just want to make that clear.
You can't see the curve out of an airplane, right? 10 miles. You agree? I hope you agree so far. Okay. So 10 miles up, no curve. Red Bull 23 miles up, no curve. Branson 63 miles up, no curve. So where is this curve at that you swear by? Because if you live on a ball, I don't care how big the ball is, it could be 4 times the size of what they told us, you would still see a physical curve at some point. That's what the horizon's supposed to be. That's how the sun is going. I mean, there's a curve of the earth. All these theories involved with the curve of the earth get thrown out the window.
That's what happens with a new company.
This is the fiction section. Fiction means it's a made-up story. Oh, hey, Elmo, I bet we can find your Galactic Gale comic book here. Oh, boy, Elmo, hope so.
We all know who our enemies are. They are called the globalists, with their false idol that they give children on the teacher's table at kindergarten, the false globe of the global agenda.
People are just deceived. I mean, I grew up from kindergarten. There's a globe. My kids, they graduated from kindergarten and it was a freaking globe. They gave them a globe at graduation to take home like an inflatable beach ball. And I was looking at that thing going, oh my God.
We are taught that the earth is a ball before we can talk. In school, there's a globe in the class. One of the first worksheets we get is a sheet on the orbits of the planets and the sun. And I actually still remember that sheet. I did it, I got it right, I was so proud of myself. Sesame Street has astronauts on, Disney, it's all globe programming. So your entire world belief is around this.
If you think about it, they've gotten us at a very, very young age with the lying. Before we have any critical thought, the capability of thinking for ourselves. They teach us lies from the very beginning, from Tooth Fairy, Santa, dinosaurs. With Santa, for instance, I mean, we're taught this lie, you better be good. We need you to stay in line and be good. Don't be naughty, be nice. You want to be on that nice list. Santa will come and bring you these material gifts, and then fast forward, you find out Santa isn't real. For 5, 6, 7 years, however long the lie went on for, you've been conditioned a certain way, to act a certain way, so you'll fall in line. You'll do exactly what mommy and daddy tell you, what the teachers tell you. And when you realize that lie, it's subconsciously, you're taught at that point, it's okay to lie. It's okay to lie. It's okay to accept lies. It's okay for people to lie to you. It's okay for you to lie. So the whole world is a fucking liar. Everyone's a fucking liar now because they were taught at a very young age it's okay to lie. They get you with these lies of Tooth Fairy and Santa at a young age. So when you're an adult, you can't tell the difference between a lie and reality. And when you do find out it's possibly a lie, oh, it's okay. You're subtle. You're passive. You allow the lie because you're used to, it's okay to lie. You've been conditioned your entire life. It's okay to lie. It's okay to be lied to. So when the lie comes out, people are just like, okay, whatever. Got to turn on my Fox News. Got to go to the bar. Got to go watch my football. Give them bread and circuses, and they will never revolt.
When people hear about flat Earth, when I talk to them about it, they think it's the dumbest thing ever. They think I'm uneducated. They don't realize that they don't know what they're talking about. And people say, well, what about ships over the horizon? You explain that. What about sunsets? You explain that. What about seasons? You explain that. And then they throw their hands up and go, well, why does it matter? What difference does it make? I still have to go to work tomorrow. That's right where they want you. They want you working in your slave job. They want you obeying orders, doing what you're told, and living paycheck to paycheck, and just not realizing where you are. The truth is, we're not spinning out of control, lost in space, where an asteroid could take us out. They want us believing we're running out of fuel. They want us to believe we're running out of food, when anyone can go and get a seed, stick it into the ground, water will fall from the sky, and food will grow out of the ground. There is no shortage of water, food, space. Every American family could have a half an acre in Texas, and the rest of the country would be empty. They're lying about everything.
You let your kids get raised and taught by other people that you don't know what they're learning. Everybody's disconnected. There is no harmony or anything going on with human beings. We're all scattered, disconnected, and pretty much what they're doing with teaching us this whole lie about the Earth being a ball, and you're flying through outer space, and dinosaurs used to roam the Earth, and if these powerful beings could get wiped out by a comet, then what are we gonna do if a comet comes? We're done.
So the heliocentric model not only manages to keep us all completely worthless floating amongst the stars in space, but it also keeps us in fear that we're either going to knock into something in the future, or there's going to be something that then bangs into us that causes some sort of horrendous collision and we're all going to die, or maybe, you know, some cartoon satellite has found another planet where there could be like flesh-eating monsters on there, and it's, you know, some sort of crazy shit that they throw down your face and try and say, you know, this is, as well as everything else that you're scared of, keeping your house, keeping your health, keeping your family together, there's also a chance as well that some rock may fall from the sky and kill you tomorrow.
And another thing people don't know is that not only in 1920 did Rockefeller change all the textbooks and come up with his own agenda of what they want you to know, but there was a man named George Lemaitre. I felt like, you know, Einstein passed the torch to him or something. They were good friends, apparently, and George Lemaitre was a Catholic priest. Yeah, a Catholic priest. And in 1920, he said, hey, we came from a Big Bang. It's all about 1920 was a crazy year, huh? 1920, they said that we came from a Big Bang. We exploded from nothing. Well, how do you prove that? Well, no, you can't, but that's what was stated. So here's this Catholic priest where, in my opinion, they knew that even though non-religious people knew the earth was flat and stationary, they were trying to group, just call flat earthers at that time. They're flat earthers, they're all religious people. So let's bring forward a Catholic priest. Look, he's not a scientist. He's not government, he's a priest. He's Catholic, he's holy. This is brand new. This isn't thousands of years old. This isn't, the Big Bang's been around for thousands of years. Heliocentrism has been around for thousands of years. No, they create fictional characters, Galileo, Copernicus. They create characters to support the New World Order, their agenda. The way they change the entire school system and structure of what we know and all the information and knowledge that we obtain. If it's false, then yeah, they got their goal. A nation of workers, not thinkers. No one thinks.
What's the circumference of the globe?
I have no idea.
How fast is it spinning at the equator?
Don't know.
How fast is it orbiting the sun?
Cody? You have glasses on. You should know this.
How fast is the sun moving?
Man, you're asking some questions I'm not ready to answer.
But see, this is the point. You guys laugh at flat Earth, Well, one, you don't know what flat Earth is, and worse is you don't even know what your own solar system is. They don't know their own model. You can ask them, what's the radius of the Earth? How was it found? What's the speed of the Earth around the sun? How fast is the Earth spinning at the equator? How fast is it chasing the sun? How many miles does it go a year? How far is the sun? They don't know any of these things, but yet they defend this and they ridicule and make fun of flat earthers.
All the things that I was patronizing and condescending and going, oh, sloughing off, that's not worthy of me. They rose up to eye level. And I remember saying, boy, the world is flat. I'm looking it in the eye. I see further, I see wider, I see clearer.
I settled on near infrared, like some of these cameras can be converted to near infrared, you know? So then I started taking photos, and since I was doing a lot of flying, I started going up, and boom. I was actually amazed to see the incredible flatness that you get from high altitude. Everywhere I looked, there was like clues that yours is flat. And I was like, this is blowing my mind. Everywhere I looked, yours is flat. And NASA is lying about the curvature. So I said, something is eerily wrong over here, man. When I saw across the Gulf, right off the coast of Texas there in Louisiana, flying to Orlando, and I saw all the way out in the distance, and you could even see the rays of light at a different angle. That tripped me out. But if you really go up high, then you realize, oh my God, the Earth is extremely flat.
This would be impossible on a globe. There is no 8 inches per mile square.
Equation for curvature of 8 inches per mile squared has been debunked over and over again. The flat earthers with their P900s and their P1000 cameras are constantly seeing things way off beyond the supposed curvature of Earth.
In fact, many tests have been done with lasers, cameras, filming mountain ranges 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 miles into the horizon, which are visible and shouldn't be visible if we were living on a globe. This is how much distance he covered with his camera, and he could see from here the Rocky Mountains. There you go. There is no 8 inches per mile square.
There's no way you can see 500 miles on the other side of this ball. There's no buildings that are curving backwards. If point A to point B, you're on a ball, you know, they're not going to be flat up and down like on our flat Earth. They're going to be like this. There's no tilting. They've measured distances from the base of buildings to the top, level and flat.
People look out at the ocean and you see ships and stuff, and it appears like these ships and boats, they go down, and that is a huge factor as to why people think the Earth is round.
If you look at the ocean or a lake, it looks flat. Look at that. Look how straight and flat that horizon is.
Looks flat, doesn't it?
See, it looks like a table or a board. Now, once in a while, you might see mountains or hills, but those are just like little bumps on what looks like a flat Earth. As ships sail away, they don't disappear all at once. No, first, the bottom will disappear. See, the bottom of the ship is gone. Now we can see midway up, and then the whole thing disappears. So people realized that the world is curved. I mean, it's a big curve, but it's curved. That's what we call pseudoscience.
You could buy a camera now that zooms times 100, and you could zoom in on these ships and boats leaving your view, your human eyeballs view, pull out a camera and zoom in on it, and suddenly you're back. It's on top of a level surface, still cruising.
So the limit of your vision is where the sky meets the ground due to perspective. As they come together, that's the limit of your vision. That's called our horizon. The horizon is optical. If you had a super zoom camera, you can zoom in and make this angular size bigger to reveal small objects that you couldn't see. And then when you zoom out, it goes back together and things disappear into the horizon, not over.
We see
skylines beyond what we're supposed to see. I mean, the visibility from 100, 200, 500 miles away, it debunks the whole 8 inches per mile squared.
Photogrammetry, I think, is one of the best way to convince yourself. You do multiple images of the ground, and then you put it in a software, and you realize how flat it is. You're seeing it yourself, it's your